Falcons fans, welcome into our mailbag edition that airs on our live show every single Wednesday at about 3:30 to 4 o'clock Central Time. It varies, you know what I mean? You know what doesn't vary? The Atlanta Falcons playing a bad football team. It seems to happen a lot now. But here's what we do know. The Falcons have an opportunity to win this football game in New York. You are taking on the New York Football Jets. So, the Atlanta Falcons meet the Jets. Two football teams right now that probably don't have a lot going for them, but nonetheless, the Falcons could take the W and improve to 5-7 on the 2025 season. We're going to get started with our very first question of today, and that's from Archangel, fan favorite of the show. Can Kirk Cousins get us to the playoffs? Thoughts? Obviously, yes. Kirk can. He's an NFL veteran, understands defenses, can play well enough. The thing about Kirk, Ark, is if Kirk limits the mistakes, the Falcons can win a lot of football games. I just don't know that given his age, given his injury history, and given his pocket mobility limitations, I don't know how many times he can limit the mistakes. Because eventually, you're going to go up against some really good quarterbacks. Sam Darnold is playing well. Matt Stafford looks like the MVP. You're going to have to go up against Baker later on in the season. So you've got to go toe-to-toe with some of those great quarterbacks, and I don't think Kirk has the firepower anymore. Now, can he beat Tyrod Taylor? Yes. Can he beat Jacoby Brissett? Yes. Can he beat Tyler Shuck? Yes. We know this. So I'm looking at this saying Kirk might go 3-3 over the next 6, and that would put us at 7-10. Hopefully that answers your question. Jeremy coming in with his question. What's your opinion on bringing in Robert Saleh as a Raheem Morris replacement? I don't hate Robert Saleh as a head coach. Unfortunately, he coached the Jets, and the Jets are a dumpster fire. I wouldn't say Robert Saleh would be my top choice for head coach, but I wouldn't hate it. He's a leader of men. He knows defensive personnel. He loves to blitz. He loves those schemes. I think Robert Saleh was liked in that locker room. I just think ultimately you had Aaron Rodgers, who's a cancer at quarterback. You had an incompetent owner. Geez, where does that sound familiar? And a GM that was an absolute moron. Well, there might be some similarities there. Either way, Robert Saleh, I would not hate as the Falcons head coach. I just don't know that it's the perfect number one overall choice. Hell of a Falcons fan coming in next. Will there be a quarterback competition? Ooh. Will there be a quarterback competition next year? Interesting. I mean, let's just go with what we know. There's only two quarterbacks that could be possibly in a competition right this moment. Michael Penix Jr., Kirk Cousins. But I don't know that Kirk's going to be on this team next year. He's a $35 million cap savings if you release him. So that would leave only Michael Penix Jr. as the quarterback on this depth chart. And like I said, I don't think Kirk's going to be on the team in 2026. Not unless he absolutely goes out and balls out. I mean, if Kirk gets us close to the playoffs, if he wins, let's call it, he's already had 2 start, or that was his second start. So he's 1-1 this season. If Kirk goes as a starter 6-2 this football season, I think it would be very hard to say that he doesn't have a spot on this team next year. Now, if he goes 3-3 or 4-4 or whatever it is, then I think, okay, Kirk's out the door. And then you had what Raheem Morris said like last week and said, we've got to flip our mentality about the quarterback position. And if we're just looking at the Falcons' schedule, the remaining schedule, we don't need to see the first 7 weeks there, Mr. Producer. We can just take a look at the remaining schedule here in just a little bit. You've got some really tough opponents coming up. You've got the Seattle Seahawks. You've got the Los Angeles Rams. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again. But then you've also got some cupcakes. You know, you've got the Jets. You've got the, don't worry about it, it's okay. You've got the Jets. You've got the Cardinals. You've got the Saints. So there could be a quarterback competition if Kirk Cousins wins these football games. If he doesn't win these football games, I think we know that the writing's on the wall. But does that beg the question then, what do the Falcons do about Michael Penix Jr.? Of course it does. It's impossible to know any of these answers until the offseason. I think that's the ultimate take right here. And that's okay. It's okay to admit. It is impossible to know what the Falcons are planning on doing until we know what they're doing, if that makes sense. So if I had to pick my starting quarterback right now of who I think is going to be the starter, it's going to be Penix. It'll be Penix. But if you think it'll be Kirk Cousins, or maybe it's somebody different, do me a favor, get down in the comment section. If you think it's going to be Kirk, type your Ks. If you think it's going to be Penix, type your Ps. I'm typing my P right now, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. It might be somebody else. It might be another quarterback. Before we continue on with more questions from real Falcons fans, I got to tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks. The holiday season is officially here, and this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Whether it's the basketball matchups, the playoff pushes, it's all happening all at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every single day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, what games to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that's PrizePicks. They got a brand new feature. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. If your fantasy season's already over, look, my team's cooked. But with PrizePicks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft. Every single day I can play fantasy football, pick my favorite players, and win when they hit their projections every single week. So do yourself a favor. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I'm going to put all of that in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. We're going to come in with another Falcons fan right here, the dog sit, another huge fan of the show. Shout out to you, brother. Falcons, do you think the Falcons re-sign Kyle Pitts? I think not. I've been team franchise tag Kyle Pitts. He played arguably one of his worst games of the season against the Saints, man. I cannot keep defending Kyle Pitts. He's the most bipolar player I've ever seen. There's games when Kyle Pitts is like rocking and rolling, and there's games he just disappears, just into the ether. If I had to put my money on it, if I think they re-sign him or don't, they'd lean towards not re-signing him. That's my ultimate take. Dozer, do you think there could be a way to sneak into the first round in this year's draft via trades or pick swaps? Here's the problem. Who on the team is worth first-round picks? Drake London, Bijan. Who else? Who else are you willing to part with that'll get you a first-round pick? Kirk Cousins isn't going to get you that. Hell, even if you try to trade Penix for whatever reason, if it ever came to that, I don't think you'd get a first-round pick out of him either. So who are you going to trade? If you want to get in the first round, you're going to have to give up a player, a big-time player. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons want to do that. Now, could they get a bunch of, like, second- and third-round picks? Yeah, duh. If you traded Arnold Ebiketie, you'd get a second- or a third-round pick immediately. So I think now the question becomes, if you want a first-round pick, you got to part with one of your best players. Pat Norris, why didn't we run this offense last year? Dude, I have no idea. Zach Robinson's a moron. Can we just, agree with that? I don't know. I think finally Kirk Cousins grew a sack of balls and just said, hey, I'm tired of running this gimmicky pistol bullshit. Give me something real. And then Zach was probably like, okay. And they did, and look, they won. It looked actually like a competent offense. I hope we see more of it. I don't know why they didn't run it last year. Robbie, what do you think of the Falcons picking up Brandon Ayuk? Ooh, it's nicey. Except he's a locker room cancer. If you can deal with that, fine, go get him. He's a great talent. He'd be an immediate number 2 behind Drake London. But do you really want him? I mean, he's probably going to have to deal with headaches as well. And plus, they just paid him all that money, and they're already divorced. So, I don't know. Probably not. I think he's a great player, but I don't know if I want him on this team. The Bright Wolf. If the Rams lock the number 1 seed, will they use their starters? They might use their starters for the pick. Yeah, they're going to play their starters. It's not Week 18. That's like the only thing that I could see it happening is if it was Week 18, but it's not. They're going to play as hard as they can for the number 1 overall seed, and they'll try to get those picks. And then if it's Week 18 and they're like, we've locked up everything, we'll just take a back seat. So I hope that answers your question. Pee poo poo. That's lovely. Nice thumbnail picture, by the way. Tacario Davis from Washington is 6'4". Tall cornerbacks are usually good because we play Mike Evans every single year. I haven't done my homework on him. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'll keep it a buck. I haven't really done my homework on Tacario Davis, but I'll look into it. I'll start watching some tape on him because if he's 6'4" and he's a corner, holy moly, man. That's unbelievable. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's mailbag episode of Falcons Today. Thank you guys so much for getting your questions in. As always, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.